Hello, everyone. Welcome to March's Intuitive Guided Message. I am Teresa Stone of Lightworker Navigation, and it is my joy and honor to bring forward the messages from the Oracle cards and the transmissions and information that has been pouring through in these last few days. So, leading up to writing my newsletter and putting out this video for the guided message, it has been very interesting within the energies of what's going on. And yes, I know that Mars stationed direct a couple weeks ago, and we are still in its shadow period, and Venus stationed retrograde on the 1st of March. And we are also approaching some eclipses for the month of March. And so there is a lot of heavy hitting energy that's coming up here for us. So I know with all that combined, it definitely was being conveyed through what I was feeling and sensing. And so I'm going to do things a little bit different because it was interesting as I was feeling into some insights that I was bringing forward for my Conscious Insight Journal number 5, which is called Elemental Magic. I borrowed this deck from my mom, and I was going through it and doing some card pulls for me so that I could get some information. And it was very interesting because there was 3 cards that came out that really didn't pertain so much to that specific journal that I'm in the process of creating, but it really highlighted the energy that we're in right now. And so I'm actually going to bring forward those cards and then bring forward a few more that I was being guided to kind of share with us for this upcoming month. And so the very first card that came out of this deck here was the tsunami, and that is representing a wake-up call. And with the eclipse energy coming up, we can certainly see how the tsunami, the wake-up call, is playing into that energy. And if you don't know about the eclipse energies and the eclipse cycle that happens, eclipses really tend to move us, shake things up, and rock us to the core in a lot of ways. So we could see some endings of relationships, jobs, careers, moving of places. We can see some big shifts for us when we have the eclipse energy at play. And so it was interesting to see the wake-up call, because this card is reminding us that there is some big movements and shifts coming our way in this next month, and it may even trickle over into April and perhaps even into May. Now, the second card that fell out of the deck when I was feeling into it for those insights was the lightning card representing power. And this was an interesting card as I was connecting into the message with it, because not only is it representing power in the way of the forces of Mother Nature, like we see lightning and it brings, this impactful force of energy followed by, the sound of thunder. And we see that in the way that lightning hits and strikes and flashes through the sky, it's very pure, it's raw, it's this magical force of energy that is wielded by Mother Nature, by nature itself. And it's not bad, it's not good, it's really just raw power. And it is the power that we can tap into for the power we have within ourselves. We might not be able to control things, but we certainly have the ability to tap into our innate power, that beautiful knowing and intuition, and our ability to switch our perspectives and see things from a different, bird's eye perspective of what's going on, and harness that power that we have within us to bring forward an ease and a flow to these changes, these big shifts and changes that we're being invited towards. And so I really thought that power and the lightning representation here was very beautiful, was a very beautiful message to help us, I guess you could say, almost navigate the situations or the experiences that are going to be arising, and help us to remember that we do have this power deep within us to ride out the waves, ride out the situations, the occurrences of the shifts and changes that are coming. And we might not be able to control our circumstances, but we can certainly work to soften our attachments, soften our expectations, and see things from a different perspective, and look at every experience as a beautiful opportunity that we get to grow on a soul level. And even just on a personal level, physical, emotional, mental, like in all the layers and all the levels, we get to grow when we have these big shifts and changes that are coming, and we can tap into that beautiful innate power that we have to help us see things in a different light from that bird's eye perspective. And then the third card that came out while I was connecting into the energies was the meadow and the vulnerability. Now, this card was really interesting because when we think of being vulnerable, it tends to have a very negative connotation, where if we open ourselves up, this is where we get hurt, or we can fall victim to, someone else's malicious behavior. And so I thought this was very interesting, this card showing up and highlighting the sense of vulnerability. But when I was feeling into it and reading the little message that came with this book to get a little bit better understanding of vulnerability actually pairs really nicely with the card of the power, the lightning, that divine innateness that makes us up. For when we allow ourselves to soften those attachments, those expectations, and open to the power of love, open to the power of compassion, and open even to the power of forgiveness, we can allow ourselves to become more vulnerable and open deeper to these experiences. Not so much to say that, we want to allow ourselves and invite, being hurt and being victimized in some way, but it allows us to experience each opportunity that comes our way deeper, with more of the opportunity to really experience and feel into everything that's flowing towards us, into all that experience has to offer. And so the representation with this card is speaking about how some people can perceive being in an open meadow, standing in the meadow and embracing things from a perspective of fear and anxiety and worry about, is there a wild animal coming out, or is there a person coming out, or is something going to happen to me when I'm in this open space of the meadow, very vulnerable with no protection. And on the flip side of this card, for some, we can stand in a meadow and absorb the beauty of all that we're witnessing, the flowers, the grass, the breeze in the air, the mountains that are in this picture, and even anything that we might see, the sky, the sun, the way that the clouds are moving. We can perceive this as a very beautiful, enlightening, and uplifting experience with no fear, just seeing the sheer delight and bathing in the sheer delight of this experience that, Mother Nature is opening us up to. And so it was very interesting how it really does come down to your perspective and where you are mentally, emotionally, physically, when we are standing in this, for lack of a better example here, this meadow, and where we are, opening ourselves up, and our surroundings, there's nothing around us except for, the beauty of nature or the fear of nature. And so when we are being, I guess you could say, invited into these tsunami eclipse type experiences that are moving us and shifting us on deep levels in deep transformational ways, we have the ability to observe these experiences, these happenings, these occurrences, these opportunities from a place of power, our own personal power and perspective of how vulnerable we actually are with each of these experiences. Are we going to just open ourselves and allow the experience to just flow through us, allowing whatever is arising, whatever is showing itself to be felt and honored and witnessed for whatever it is, without the perceived judgment of, punishments or pain or unfairness? Or are we going to see them as beautiful gifts and opportunities to grow both on a soul level and just on a spiritual, everyday kind of levels, where it's actually moving us closer to what we're desiring, even if it doesn't feel like it? And with that being said, we have a pretty strong message here that's coming through, where we know we're getting the guidance that there's going to be shifts and changes. There's going to be, quote unquote, a wake-up call of some kind. And they can really be powerful opportunities for us to open to the experiences of them in a very beautiful, vulnerable way that helps us to be empowered and help us to integrate more of our innate gifts and abilities and remember who we truly are, that beautiful divine essence of who we are. Or we can, kick and scream and fight and resist the shifts and the invitations that are coming. But the message is very clear. We have wake-up calls coming. We have powerful energies occurring always around us, and we ourselves are very powerful, and we can harness that power for ourselves to bring forward divine wisdom and guidance, into everything that we're doing by switching our perspective. And we have this beautiful invitation to help us to soften and open further into allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable in these experiences, to help deepen them on a very personal soul level. Now, with that being said, I was guided to grab a couple different decks here to bring in a little further messages from the guides and see what else they have to say. So, and as you know, I never pick the cards, and the cards just pick us. So, this is interesting. Well, not really interesting. I think it's funny as we just kind of tapped into all of that. But we've got the new moon in Aquarius that fell out of the deck here, and it's open up to change. Now, that definitely pairs into our wake-up call and our shifting energies with the eclipse energy that's approaching. So we're being invited to open up into that change. So again, that is validated within that card there. And of course, the fairies were jumping and lighting up with excitement, wishing to share a message with us as well. I feel they always particularly come out and have such a connection with me in spring. So this card here, the message from the fairies is journey. So the guidance here is it's time to prepare for a journey. It may be impromptu or planned. Either way, make sure you're ready when the time comes. Pack your passport now. Now, of course, this can represent a trip that we may be taking, but in retrospect, as we pair it with the rest of the cards here, it's giving us the invitation to be ready for the journey. The fact that we are on a journey, life is a journey. I'm sure everybody's heard that at some point in time in their life. And it's really getting us to be prepared for the spontaneity of the quickness that can happen with change. And also just inviting us to embrace change as well and be prepared with those packed bags or that switched perspective. Just be ready. Just know that things are changing. So do whatever you got to do, whether that's meditate more, connecting with nature a little bit more, go for a drive, do more self-care, do more breathing, whatever it is that you do to nurture yourself, to help you become more grounded and more connected to yourself, to your heart. That will help to ease and any transitions that happen with the eclipse energies and that we're being shown here. It also helps to ease vulnerability and helps us to really connect in with that power that we have access to, our own personal power. So is there any more messages, little fairies? You would like, whoa, that's too many. Okay, we're not going to take the one that fell on the floor. We will take this one though. Motivation. When spring approaches, the flower fairies urge you to spring into action. If there's something you've been merely thinking about doing, then they say get busy and do it. Now this is interesting because another thing that we have happening over the course of March is Mercury retrograde, and with Venus retrograding as well, and is still in the shadow period of Mars's retrograde that just passed, we actually have a bit of a slow down energy for March. And so while we have this card that is telling us to spring into action, you might find that this month, even though you're wanting to take action because it is spring, and in the spring we tend to get really busy with spring cleaning and wanting to get tasks done and check off those boxes, you might find though that you're going to have to give yourself a bit more ease and grace. And so when we're looking at this energy of motivation, even though we have this slow down energy, that doesn't mean we binge watch a bunch of, shows, movies, whatever. It just means we actually have the opportunity to really unpack all the seeds that we have decided to plant. And so before we are given the opportunity to plant those seeds fully, we can just take the motivation to maybe do some more research, to do some more quiet meditation, to just do some more reflection, but still looking for the doors and the opportunities that are being open so that we are moving forward with that motivation, even though there is that slowdown energy. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's like we don't want to just stop forward action or steps forward. We just want to understand that and honor the fact that even though we're being invited with spring and the fairy energy of motivation to get going and take action, we're also up against some pretty heavy energies this month with the eclipse, with Mercury retrograde, and with Venus retrograde, and also with Mars's shadow period. So we're just going to be feeling a little bit like, let's just go slow. Slow and steady wins the race. So ask for that guidance. What's my next action step? And if that means, having a long walk outside or journaling or taking a bubble bath or going for a long drive or even planning a trip that just frees you from the everyday tasks, the everyday mundane tasks that kind of weigh you down, then that's what you do. That's what you do. Whatever arises for you, whatever comes up for you that you are being invited to do, if it feels good for you and you're able and you have the capacity to do it, go ahead and do it. But also honor yourself and recognize that if things don't happen really quickly in that forward momentum, or if you start to plan something and it all goes kaplooey, then recognize that it just isn't maybe the right time because we are in this slower, dense energy. But there will come a time. April will also lighten a bit. May will also feel more forward momentum. So just honor that and recognize that. Okay, and so I do have one more deck here that I was being guided to go with. And so here we go. We've got one card that just flew right out there, and that one is Expansion, which is so lovely because that is really the gift that we're being given with all of this forward shifting movement with the eclipse energy. And we also had another card just fall out. So this card here is called Innocence, and it's representing unicorn love. So when we see this card here, it really represents magic. And it also reminds us of the innocence we have within ourselves. And so as we're harnessing all this beautiful power, there's also this, and the opening ourselves to vulnerability, there is this invitation or this reminder, if you will, of the innocence, this innocent aspect of ourselves that tends to get forgotten in the everyday things, that tends to be the one that has the pushback and has the resistance or sees things as forms of punishment or being persecuted for doing something or not doing something or being victimized. And so this invitation here is inviting us to work with the magic of the unicorns and all that they represent, and also be reminded to do that self-care, that nurturing, that honoring that innocence within ourselves, and in a way being authentic with ourselves as well. For it is when we are in these experiences that feel very unpreferred, very unwelcomed, that we have to be real and honest with ourselves, and that is how we nurture and honor and respect our innocence. Because when we're angry, when we're pissed off, or when we're hurt, or when we're sad, or when we're in a place of where we wish something was different, it is us sitting with that energy, with those emotions, with those thoughts, with those feelings, whether it is that we journal about them, or whether we go for a walk and share it with the trees, or even if we just think about it, or we meditate on them, or we go for a drive to just recognize them, or whether we have a long hot shower or take an extra hour of sleep, or go maybe go to bed earlier and just sit with our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, however that is for you. It is the reminder to be authentic and be real with ourselves. So if we're having a hard day, we say, I'm having a hard day. We acknowledge them. We don't just sweep them under the rug and say, yeah, everything is fine, love and light, because then we're not being true and we're not honoring our innocence, because it's our innocence that can get left to the wayside. It's that innocence that often is the one speaking up and saying, hey, 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 what about this? What about that? What about me? And when we are being fake, or if we're not being true to ourselves, it's that innocence that will have more pushback and reminds us, that we need to love ourselves more, and we need to honor ourselves and everything that's arising. And it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to not like what's happening around you. But, we don't need to put that on other people. We can just recognize it in ourselves, and we can sit and honor and give ourselves a hug, or, do something to really support the innocence, our innocence, and honor whatever that is for us and however that comes up. So we've got the other card here, expansion. Well, now expansion is really beautiful because it really is the expansion that we're being offered here. So the eclipse cycle and the eclipse energies, well, they can feel pretty tumultuous as we're going through them. And they can be giving us, quite, I guess you could almost kind of say, a run for our money. And we're being, again, presented with more change. And this might not just be personal, but just on a society level as well. What is happening and what is occurring is a form and level of expansion. We are expanding out our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. All things are expanding. We're in an expansion period right now. So we are exploring what this expansion means for us. And we're being given all these beautiful opportunities to grow further and expand our energies into different areas that we might not have thought about before. And so one of the other things here that's on this card is the 741 hertz. And that is bringing in the enlightened healing code. And so if you don't know much about the frequencies, this is one of the solfeggio tones or frequencies. And it's very beautiful. Most people can just Google 741 hertz, or they can, pull information up in libraries or find resources about it to read further. But for myself, I've just Googled the hertzes that I wanted to listen to, like the 432 or 528. And in this case, I would look up 741, and I would feel into maybe a YouTube video or looking on Spotify or whatever music platform that you like to listen to. You can usually find people who are now putting out the 741 hertz, or you can even look at the binary beats as well. Just looking at the frequencies and the tones, because they do bring a healing resonance, or it is said that they bring a healing resonance to the body. I myself, my own experience with them is that they're very therapeutic for me, and they do help to calm my nervous system, and I feel like they really help me to ground and align into the energies. So if you are interested and you want to connect in with the 741 hertz, you're welcome to do so by just Googling or looking up on your music platforms and seeing what they have available for you to listen to. It is such a beautiful card for us to recognize this expansion period that we're in, this beautiful opportunity of expansion, and that really all of this message combined is giving us the opportunity to expand ourselves, to expand in the way that we're showing up, what we're doing, the opportunities that we're bringing forward, the way that we're being of service. So I love this message for us this month. And it does feel like a lot of energy is going to be moving this month. But with the support of the unicorns, with the fairies, with our own spirit teams, and just with this recognition of knowing that this is an expansion, that our soul is getting to experience this expansion energy, and we can embrace more of that divine love and wisdom, and even harmonize ourselves with the frequency of the 741 and even the 432 and the 528 hertz. It will in turn and in time help to move us to more in alignment with where our soul is wanting to be. And so hopefully this gives you a bit of a way to empower yourself to flow in harmony with the energies that are arising this month. And with that, I thank you so very much for listening to the March's intuitive guided message. And I wish you all the most easeful and harmonious days of March, and blessings to you all. And we will see you all next month for the April intuitive guided message. Thank you all. Take care.